respectfully vocal about their opinions and their differences. And that's when he started to be like, okay, wait, I don't know if I actually like this. I think that's what it is. So I would say around the time the show started is when he started becoming a little bit more patriarchal, wanting a little bit more control. And that's what I probably around the when the show started.
So he became more patriarchal like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like he really got probably like when a lot of his kids started graduating high school and going to college, like when the first probably 4 or 5 started going to college, he started being even more like, my kids are leaving me. I want to make sure that I have like a good, I guess, overhead of the rest of my kids. I want to make sure that I'm raising the rest of them really good and that they're leaving with strong values. I think he tried to get like a little bit more strict.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It's Monday, June 12th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I just finished my video on Ben Sewald, Jessa Sewald, the fighting between the Duggars, and I popped open my Bible, which was a wild video, so make sure you check that one out if you haven't yet. I was watching Miss McKelty's Patreon. Some of you guys don't like her and Tony. I actually think Tony is pretty honest, maybe more so than McKelty. He doesn't see things as like rosy as McKelty does. And in this recent Patreon, they were talking about the patriarchal control that Kody has over his family. I thought it was interesting because Mr. Antonio, Tony, he said that it had been years since the wives and Kody stopped wearing their holy undergarments, which if you know anything about the world of polygamy and Mormonism, and I know they're not the same, there's the LDS church, which is the mainstream church, and then there's these offshoot groups, right? They have this belief that they need to wear their holy undergarments to keep them, you know, holy and pure, and if they have temple rights and they can be in the temple, they have to wear their undergarments. Fundamentalists believe that they should not modify those. So people that are in the fundamentalist faith will wear ones that go all the way down their arms, all the way down their legs. So like back in the day, you would have never seen Kody wearing shorts. You would have always seen the women in long sleeves. You would have seen them trying to find ways to cover their undergarments. And today, they are not wearing those anymore. They also went into a discussion when Kody became more patriarchal and more controlling. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then Gwendolyn over on her YouTube channel was talking about how her teacher had a crush on Kody. Imagine being in Spanish and your teacher just wants to talk to you about your dad, right? So gross. And then there was a blip on TikTok about property that was for sale by owner. And I just want to like clarify that information. And we'll dive into a little bit about all things with what's going on Robyn's Pinterest. And if you're wondering, I should be back on camera soon. Like literally my eyebrow is finally starting to look good. It's healing. I just need to get it to a point where I can actually apply makeup again, and we are getting there. So before we dive into today's topic, please do me a big favor and give this video a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Make sure to click on the bell so you can get notified of any time I go live and new content loads. Make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say and share this video with your friends. So Kody Brown is like the cult leader of his family at this point, and he doesn't have faith as much as he used. According to Tony, the wives and Kody don't even really read the Book of Mormon anymore. So he explained that they have literally stopped wearing their undergarments and they stopped reading the Book of Mormon like over 5 years ago. So I want to just be sure to explain this to viewers that while this family was on TV espousing that they had a church and they've had faith and that they've been practicing all of this time, and we're talking about how Christine needed to go get a release from her church, all of that was bullcrap because Kody doesn't read the Book of Mormon anymore, apparently, doesn't wear his holy underwear anymore, and not even the wives are followers of it. Check it out.
I think your moms became less patriarchal and more independent over the years.
And so it made him want like to be more patriarchal because
No,
they
well,
got less
I think
independent, or
maybe
made
he
us
got-
notice it more.
I think maybe he got a little more, but your mom's becoming less made a bigger gap, essentially.
Okay.
Because think about like
My moms have gotten a lot more
all of your
independent and
moms
strong.
are not AUB based or religious based anymore.
Mhm.
They all stopped wearing garments. They all stopped. I bet you none of them have read the Book of Mormon within the last like 5 years.
Probably.
And all of Kody's patriarchal like idealisms are based in how he grew up in like this branch of FLDS.
Tony's hypothesis is that the reason why Kody became more controlling is because his wives stopped becoming like as submissive and they were not as into the faith anymore. So his argument, McKelty thinks that as the kids got older, Kody saw the kids leave and wanted more control. And so as the kids didn't choose what he wanted, he became more controlling and more like he wanted to make sure the kids he still had under his control wouldn't leave. And Tony thinks that as the wives became more independent and stopped wearing their garments, stopped reading the Book of Mormon, and left the faith that was holding them together and holding them in that patriarchal system, that Kody then became more patriarchal. The gap became wider and the women would not follow his lead anymore. So Kody wasn't able to keep them under control because they were not doing what they needed to do to follow the faith. You cannot live this system of polygamy with their belief system without the belief system. So if someone says, I don't need the garments anymore, they're saying, I don't care about my temple recommends, I'm not caring about the covenants anymore. It might mean the celestial kingdom doesn't matter to them. It might mean a lot of different things. It might mean that they don't believe in the sacred ordinances of their church, all of it. And so as they stop wearing the undergarments, which are supposed to keep them holy and righteous and safe and chaste, is getting further away from them. They're no longer reading the Book of Mormon, where it's in the Book of Mormon and the Doctrine and Covenants that speaks about the importance of why polygamy is supposed to exist. Actually, in the Book of Mormon, he denounces polygamy. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And then in Doctrine and Covenants 132, Joseph Smith says that you have to be a polygamist to get into the celestial kingdom. Tony then spent a bit of time going through the historical components of the church, and he basically said that with the wives having to go through Kody to reach their salvation and them no longer following that, they likely didn't look to him as their leader, and so therefore they didn't submit to him, and as he wasn't getting their submission, he became more controlling. I think with a narcissist, anytime they lose control of something, they're almost going to become more controlling. So I think of it like this, Jim Bob Duggar lost Jill. Jill has now gone out into the world and is now telling everyone the truth about the family. He has become more controlling with the other kids and keeping them under further lock and key because he doesn't want to risk anyone else getting out. It creates this very unhealthy dynamic where any threat to that control of that narcissist becomes detrimental to those people that stay in his influence. So I'm not surprised that Kody would become more patriarchal with the wives becoming more independent. And I think what happened is that Robyn is not more independent. She is completely dependent on Kody. She is very submissive to him. And Tony and McKelty speak a lot about how Robyn is the only of the wives that actually wants to be a not modern wife. And Kody doesn't want modern women because he wants to be in control. Imagine a man being so threatened by a woman's independence and her ability to take care of herself that he calls that a modern woman. You have to have a pretty small ego or a small sense of self-worth if you think that a woman thinking for herself and having her own ability to take care of herself is a threat to your manhood. I'm just saying. So that kind of explains that. And then Gwendolyn had mentioned in a separate video that she felt that Kody was getting a lot of feedback from people in his life, men specifically from church, that were like yammering at him about how he was being too lenient with his wives and they need to reel things in. Whatever happened is Kody became a megalomaniac through the show, which takes me to the next part. Gwendolyn Brown is still going through all the seasons, and I've kind of lost interest in these reruns or watching her watch things back, mostly because it's just not current anymore, but it's interesting to see her sort of see things differently from as a child to today. She was watching videos of them on like different interviews when they went public, and then she stopped in it and she went on to say that she was like, women's thirst for her dad is so out of control that it actually like influenced one of her teachers and caused problems for her in school. Check it out.
My mom saying, that was a serious problem with women just wanting my dad. It was so, I had a teacher at one point that I had to switch classes because she was so creepy about it. Garrison had her longer. She was weird, so weird. I could tell you stories about her from his perspective. I only had like 3 days where I had to deal with her, but she was weird. Oh my gosh, she wasted like half of an entire class just gossiping with me about how much she loved my family. And I was like, I'm just trying to learn Spanish, lady.
I imagine that there are women out there that are attracted to Kody. I don't see it. I've never seen it. I don't find him attractive. It's mostly his personality, and he's just not my type physically. But there's women out there that do find this man attractive. And it's interesting that she's talking about her Spanish teacher kind of fangirling on her dad while she's in school and she's trying to do her assignments. That sounds so awkward. But I've actually heard it's actually the opposite. I've heard from people in this world that it's Kody that has a wandering eye, that is literally always on the hunt for another woman, never settled, always flirting, always like trying to find the next thing, the next best thing. So I feel like when a woman is getting that feedback, some women are going to be receptive to that. I can't imagine like a Spanish teacher actually wanting to be in a family. I mean, I guess anything could happen, but I mean, that's awkward. But I do think it's probably more often than not that it's Kody that is being the cad, the one that's trying to find another wife, that's hitting on women. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kody actually just like hooks up with women on the DL, and that's why he's always gone. Like, he's always going, according to Robyn, right? Remember, he's always going. Next, for Robyn, she's over on her Pinterest, and oh my goodness, is this girl literally playing some victim card. So there's been some feedback, right? Gwendolyn has been saying all kinds of things about Robyn on her YouTube. So I looked at Robyn's recent pins, and I found that Robyn is, first of all, pretending like she's still super into God. Never underestimate a woman who does all things through Christ who strengthens her. I don't know why she thinks that people underestimate her. I think people just see right through her. And then another one that she recently just pinned said, please, God, please teach me to speak right words at the right time with right tone so I can live in peace and happiness. Amen. Are Kody and Robyn having some issues here? Because, what? And then, dear God, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for loving me, forgiving me, healing me, and never leaving me. She really, really, really loves God. And she's also searching to awaken her authenticity, which I think is interesting. Remember what you liked doing when you were a child. Identify what is something that you would have loved to do if money was not involved. Think about things that you love doing and can do right now that don't involve traveling, going somewhere else, or preparing for it. Imagine for a moment that you don't have obligations and that things don't need to make sense. What comes to your mind? Think like a child from the heart and start doing what your heart tells you with the resources that you have available right now. Stimulate this for 30 minutes every day and be ready to meet the authentic you. It seems like there's some transition stuff going on in her life, and I really feel like she's probably not super happy with Kody by herself. Another thing she said is projections, and we know that the only person that projects more than anyone is Kody. And it says, don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is projection of their own reality. When you are immune to opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. It says needles. Another one says, as you grow older, you realize there is a role for everyone in your life. Some will test you, some will use you, some will love you, and some will teach you. But the ones who are truly important are the ones who bring out the best in you. They are the rare and amazing people who remind you why it's worth it. I have a sense that Kody and Robyn's marriage is in massive trouble. And I feel like whenever Robyn posts this kind of stuff, I'm sure she's responding to all the negativity about what's happening online. But I want to say something. I was thinking about how on Duggar Family Secret, Shiny Happy People, Bobby Holt was like in there and she was talking about how, you know, everyone has to stuff down their feelings, and she's talking about other people, and she was talking about all of these things like that were oppressive for people as though it wasn't oppressive to her. And then after the series airs, the world finds out what I already knew, that Jim Holt's a jerk and he's been abusing the family. And you realize that a lot of things that she is saying publicly about her projections are about herself. So I feel like Robyn does the same thing, where she is constantly like having to remind herself that she's so godly, probably because she doesn't feel godly, and that she's like plays the victim when it comes to Kody and pretends like everyone hates her, probably because she and Kody's relationship isn't what she thinks it is. Like, I have no doubt that their relationship is in massive trouble at this time. Which gets me to the next point. Yesterday on TikTok, a person, let me just get the right name here because I tagged them originally and then I didn't for a second. Slightly High Historian was over on the property at Coyote Pass, and she noticed a for sale sign right outside of the Coyote Pass thing. In one of the clips, she blurred out the phone number, and in another one, the phone number was visible. I actually ran a thing. She was like, oh, I'm pretty sure this is their phone number, but this is actually a Chicago number. I ran the phone number, and the number is actually listed to someone that owns that property. They live in Chicago, or they at least have a Chicago phone number, and that address is not actually Coyote Pass. It's a parcel that's along the road of Coyote Pass, but it has an address of that road, like Red Tank Road or something like that. So Kody and Robyn are not selling that property. That property is actually owned by someone whose property is next to Kody's. So it's in Coyote Pass, but it doesn't have a Coyote Pass address, and it's not Kody and Robyn that are selling it, and it's for sale by owner. The amount of acreage on that is also not equivalent to what the Browns have. The Browns own 2.4 acres in two separate parcels. They have one parcel that's around 4.4 acres and one that's just under 5 acres. But at this point, nothing's on the market for them, and I don't believe they can actually sell their properties that are under a loan because it's owner financed. So I'm pretty confident that they have to either pay it off or the person that financed it gets the property back, but they can't sell it to pay the person back. I'm almost confident about that. So Robyn and Kody's properties are not for sale at this time, and apparently they only have 2 more weeks until they go bankrupt. I'm just kidding. Until that property balloon is due. And at this point, absolutely no construction has happened at their property. It was only a couple weeks ago that I spoke to Kody's neighbor, and he said that they had a couple trailers parked out there and some cars, like literally just cars that were parked out there, like it was a garage or it was like a parking lot. And beyond that, no permits, nothing. They're not going to build there. Coyote Pass is dead. It's just going to be a matter of time before we either see that they're for sale by the original owners and Kody and Robyn lose it, or they sell it themselves. And it's only a matter of time before Kody and Robyn's home is listed for sale. And as Tony has said, he thinks that Kody's going to move to Oklahoma. I don't know about that. So Robyn and Kody's marriage is in shambles, according to what I think is on her Pinterest. Kody's wives are not wearing their garments anymore, and that made him more patriarchal. And Gwendolyn's Spanish teacher has the thirst for her dad, which is so gross. So what are your thoughts about this? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.